Hello, welcome. Here we are in my new studio. Still trying to find my bearings. I'm gonna start out by showing some of these old sculptures that were like sitting collecting dust in my former studio. I gotta find new places for them. These are all scratch built things. I cast these wings out of clear with a little bit of green tint resin, and there's like a little bit of sparkle in them too, but it's kind of hard to pick up on, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, little fairy there. Here's an environmental type of thing that I made for what I was hoping was going to be graphics for a video game, and then that fell through, but yeah, it was going to be some kind of magical crystal thingy. This is a little character from a book that me and my co-author have made. It's a series of books actually available on Amazon called The Scarred King. Please check them out. And this was done for a band. This was like a promotional thing. Like you could order, I think there was a limit of like 100 of them, but you could order these with the record and blah blah blah. Exciting times. Okay. Now, last we left off, I was doing this cliff and I was like, you know what? When I see you guys next week, I'll probably have it almost done. And then last week happened, and I do not have it almost done. Moving into a new place is hard and takes a long time, especially when you have lots and lots of stairs like we do. The big innovation that I'm bringing to this week, however, is that I printed out some reference. I did not have that ready last time. Reference is so nice. Kind of gives your brain permission to do weirder things than you maybe would normally, but weird things that are directed more naturally, I guess. Natural and weird are kind of opposites, aren't they? But your brain doesn't naturally come up with what nature does. So, yeah, anyway, my biggest challenge is always how to resolve lines. So, you know, I carved this big line like this, and I'm like, if I ever wanted that line to stop, how would I stop it? I just can't. My brain just can't. But looking at reference, I can see things like, okay, well, look here. Here's a way that, there you go. Here's a way that a line stops. Here's a big crack. It goes down like this, and then it kind of hits this other sort of bed of rock. So that's one way it can happen. They all kind of stop to a certain degree or shift over when they hit other layers. And then there's just like the general noise technique where they can be pretty strong, but then just kind of break up into all sorts of different directions. And the noise of all those different directions kind of hides the fact that the line is no longer continuing. So those are the things I'm kind of focusing on right now. Hey, Zambies and Raid. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. For those of you who are just coming, I'm a environmental and character sculptor artist type. Today we're working on a cliff wall. Now you know. Oh yeah, you can always just look above me. I forgot. I always have up there. There's art that I've done. Duh. Okay, so I was carving out this just with a knife last week, like so. And that's an okay way to go, but after a certain amount of time, it just really starts to wear on you. So I'm gonna try using my hot wire this time to get more of the kind of primary shapes blocked out. High Ravage paints, Ultra Squid, Zambies, I recognize you, I've rated you several times throughout the past year or so. Okay, so here's a giant flat area. What do we do with giant flat areas? We look at reference and I'm like, well, putting secondary shapes that are more like these little cross lines are what is one way to do that, and maybe the better way, to be honest. I'm not quite sure yet. Well, again, this is like closer up, so it's not. You know what? I'm just gonna do stuff, and you just watch me do it. All right? That's how we're gonna do this. That's how we're gonna play this. delicious. Okay. Now, here's another kind of interesting thing. You can carve in to go negative, but you can also go additive. Now I wouldn't put it that exact shape like right next to it. That would obviously kind of call attention to the fact, but you know, you can break this up in interesting ways. Carve on it, sand on it, smash on it. Oh, I hid my sanding pad from myself. There it is. Frankenstein wire cutter. It's a Proxon. And you have to buy this giant freaking like $120 box to run it, because they're like, no, we don't want you to just plug this into a wall. What are you, crazy? Like every other piece of electronics equipment? No, you have to buy this giant box also. Right, and then let's see. I don't want to get too bogged down in the details of like secondary forms, like these kind of cracks, but they, you know, primary, secondary, and tertiary, they exist on a spectrum, right? There's not a stark line where it goes from one to the other, and sometimes your secondary level of shape is going to inform your primary. Usually it goes in one direction. The primary dictates the secondary, which dictates the tertiary. That's not always the case. So right now I'm trying to figure out, what am I doing with this scoop? You know, it's just kind of scooped in there, which, again, looking at reference, and I'm seeing some places, you know, like maybe you could say that's a situation where it's just kind of a mostly smooth, scooped in kind of thing, or maybe even one of these shots. But it's overall, it's just unsatisfying. Of experimenting with stabbing in different angles at different depths. Ideally, I'd be using several different tools as well. See, sometimes a secondary crack type of form will, I don't know, will speak to me in some way where I'm like, ooh, I should run that off and make it a whole thing, make a big deal out of it. You got one that runs on a C battery. Oh, wow. I've never seen a battery powered one. I have a bunch of them, but they all require, oh no, look at this one. This one plugs straight into the wall. Well, anyway, let's not get sidetracked. Opportunity to paste this on somewhere. not only do we get trash day, but we also have neighbors doing a full house remodel. Is coincidentally the same month that we move into our new place. So enjoy the sounds of extra saws in the background. Hopefully that ends at some point. Alright, let's just see what happens. We start putting some glue down. Let's just see what happens if I can actually open this cap. There we go. Right. Don't need a ton. Mostly I just want to tack it down here. And because rocks, like where rocks have little clefts in them and stuff, are like, there's this line going down here, right? And I can follow that on here, carve into it a bit, kind of like how I did there. And then the fact that this is kind of patched over is greatly minimized. And even if it's not, like, I can go in and do something like this. Take advantage of the fact that it's another layer and do kind of a shale kind of breakaway sort of effect. Over there, because this thing is 6 feet long and it's just like flippy floppy, or I can go start working in more of a middle section. Basically, I'm just wanting to rough in the prime areas right now. Oh, actually, that reminds me, I almost forgot, there's some pretty major features based on where this is going to sit. So this thing is going to be sitting behind my couch. So when I stream from upstairs, when I'm doing like ZBrush and Photoshop and stuff like that, I have a little sort of faux diorama behind me to make a cool backdrop. And so the idea is that this is going to replace what was there, which was pretty much just like a green grassy looking blanket over my couch and then like a fake blue sky. I figured, hey, I'm doing diorama stuff, I should have some more interesting things there. So, the backdrop to my couch has some holes in the, like little decorative nook type of things. Which way is up? This way is up. Okay, so I'm going to take advantage of that so that I can put little sculptures and stuff. Like, you know, I can take Scola and I can stick them in a little nook or whatever, depending on the theme of what I'm sculpting at the time. Still going since December. Oh, wow. That does not sound like fun times. Thanks, it's casuality. Causality? Causality. That makes way more sense. So I don't want to just, like, the actual shape of the nook is a rectangle, of course, right? But rocks rarely break away in perfect rectangles. So I'm trying to do something that mostly will take advantage of that space, but still kind of have a natural look to it. think of the angle I want to pop it out. Probably this way. I do have a hot wire pokey stick that could also do this, but you kind of have to move it so slow that it's almost not worth it. Oftentimes. I don't know. I may try it on the next one. There's another hole somewhere on the other side, which I vaguely marked. I don't think clearly enough, so I'll have to come back to that. Save this as another sort of piece that can be on there somewhere. You bought a hot knife from Harbor Freight for $20. Oh man, Harbor Freight. Very dicey proposition there. Bye. Okay. Can I move this out here? I can. Yay. All right. So I want to follow the general flow that this hole is establishing. This hole is obviously a primary element. This is for a horizontal section. So essentially, like imagine there's a wall, like a half wall behind me, which is what's behind my couch. So this is gonna sit like, make sure I'm not knocking anything over. Something like, something like that behind me, roughly. At some point, I will stream some ZBrush sculpting, I think, here on Reapers, and you'll be able to see it when I do that. See it in situ. One thing that might be kind of nice would be if there's a little bit of a lippy ledge that comes out of the bottom of the hole, which so I can start working with something like this. Wait, that is literally the same. Okay, yeah. So if I maybe cut it down, something like that. Okay. This way. Yeah. Hey, Carrie Michael Cosby, thank you so much for the raid. Save this, stick it in my shower drain for later. Maybe get like this one a little better. Trying to always remember to cut away from myself. Okay. So if this is going to be sitting like this, it makes sense that this is kind of like a rock outcropping. So I'm seeing it as, I guess kind of like one of these type of pieces that juts out. But it's not going, well, maybe it's more like this in that it juts out, but then it comes back into the face. Because there's only so much room behind my couch. There's like maybe, I don't know, 4 inches. And so this is going to sit, you know, I guess this is 1 inch, so this would be 2 inches. Assuming that I could get it like perfectly against the wall, you know. But this kind of dictates that there would be some clefting in the rocks, something like so. I kind of like the idea of maybe bringing this into a more shallower, like try to blend this all together into one sort of ramp. I'm doing a bad job of cutting away from myself here. This is the beauty of working on separate pieces and then kludging them together. So it's way easier to get different cutting angles. I am indeed having fun burning foam. That is, you know, one of the main reasons I do what I do. It's just fun. Yeah, I like that sort of thing where you can have, oh wow, that was a nice breeze just blew through here right after I did all that burning and fume making. The gods must be smiling on my work. There's got to be a god of wind, right? You can think of a god of thunder, gods of rain. Is there a god of wind? Let me know in the comments if you know who the god of wind is. Happy enough with that. Glue and pin it down. Aeolos? Is that Greek? Okay, and another thing that I'm thinking is that if I'm going to be putting little sculptures in here like so, in order to have them lit as well as possible, unless I actually put lighting in a little niche, but I would like to keep this project as sane as possible. So I think having an angle carved in like so means I'll get as much natural light as possible. See, while using a knife takes longer than using the hot wire cutter, the nice thing is that once you have hacked away the material that you want to get rid of, there's already like a baked in texture almost ready to go. Like it needs much less work than this kind of weird scallopy texture. That, I mean, if you're doing, I don't have it out here anymore. If you're doing like either ice caves or like flint, maybe some kinds of obsidian, it's fine to have that scalloped natural look that you get from the hot wire cutter, but most rock does not look like that. So Now I'm going to build out the little cave in here for the platform for the sculptures, but that's going to make working on the rest of this difficult if I do that now. So that's probably going to be the last step. Its Greek name? 3 figures in the mythology of that name, one of whom is King of the Winds. Yeah, I mean, well, all mythology is kind of a mess, as most mythologies evolve over hundreds or thousands of years. This is a way to get more dimensionality and not have to like do subtractive all over the place. I'm still not sure how much I can do of this because of the distance between the couch and the wall, but I'm gonna try to limit myself to these 2 layers, see what happens. Once in a while I want to go in and do again some secondary cutting, the kind of the cross cutting. So in most rock shapes you're going to see an overall flow of direction. Come on, camera. There we go. So you kind of have these primary crack lines, right? But then you have these secondary ones that often run if not like completely orthogonal to them, it crosses them in some way. So, and most of the time they don't impact the shape of the primary forms, but sometimes they do. So if they get deep enough, then it can alter the course of the primary crack line. And that's what I'm trying to find places to reproduce that. loose setting. But since they aren't needing to like hold up, they don't need a lot of structural integrity, so I'm not worried about it right now. Just need them to stay in place for now. Build-up method on a flat surface is way more sane than what I was doing last week, which was strictly subtractive. As I go lower on the piece, this is up, this is down. the lower I go, the less I need to worry about it, because again, my couch comes up to like probably halfway. So I need to be really, when it comes to efficiency, I need to remember that. I could use more of the wire cutter, which is faster. I don't like the look as much, but since you're never gonna see it, I can just let it go. Gotta find a use for this weird angel hair that comes off of it. It's pretty... makes me wonder if it might make an interesting grass substitute. One of the problems with diorama and miniature grass is that if you zoom way in, they're essentially extruded cylinders. When grass is usually a blade, right? It's flat and, well, not completely flat, but flatter than it is, You know what I mean. It's grassy. And I wonder if, I feel like this is a little more like blades of grass. Obviously the wrong color, but it could probably be painted away. I have to do some experimenting. Yeah, it's really like when you pull it apart, it rips in a nice organic way. You don't have like the same exact sizes. That's another problem with a lot of prepackaged grass tufts, is that most of the blades of grass, or the cylinders of grass, are the same length. Something I covered in my last YouTube video on the dice tower that I finished up. Yeah, I'm gonna set this aside and think about it. Let's see how well this takes dye. I'm guessing like probably airbrushing would be the best way to get this colored. Yeah, I mean, I sure do make a lot of it. It'd be awesome if there was a thing to do with it. Hide this right here. Someday I'll find it and remember my thought. It's always possible. It could happen. Yes, grass tapers and it's thin, and currently existing products that I've seen any of do neither of those things. One of the things I'm most excited about with setting up this new studio is that I'm going to have my airbrush and everything set up. I'm going to make myself a proper paint booth with a fan dealy vent. A vented fan? A fanned vent? You know what I mean. Something to take the fumes away. One of the reasons that I hardly ever use my airbrush, despite having been a professional airbrush artist for a couple of years, is that I just never had like a good convenient way to have everything set up and ready to go. So yeah, I think if I build this new studio with that in mind, I'll use my airbrush a lot more. It'll be nice to vent these fumes as well. Don't stab, burn, or otherwise injure myself. Okay, I'll do my best. And forget the rest. All that delicious hair. And I'll bet there's a recipe for getting different thicknesses and lengths of this, like the heat of the Bernie McDeely and the type of the foam. I'll bet all of these things would make different kinds of these strands. come to think of it, I have green foam, and I've heard that some grasses are green in color. If I ever went outside, I'd be able to confirm this. That's kind of interesting, actually. That makes me think of this particular reference. Like where it's fairly smooth, there's a little bit of ripples and wrinkles in there. But for the most part, it's just kind of flattish, but you know, not machined flat, but yeah, this is really interesting. It's not that scalloped look that I tend to get with it, and I wonder, it must have had something to do with the speed and it doesn't work so well. Like these two together, I don't think work particularly awesomely. Just because it's like there's a flow going up like here, and then there's a flow there, but in particularly clastic formations, sometimes that can happen. If I'm remembering that word right. Basically, places where a big chunk of rock gets heated, or minerals get heated and congeal into a rock, and then another one, and then another one, and then after, when they're like half formed, they get smushed together into a bigger formation. That's where you get really like randomly different what is the word? It's not sheeting, but it's something like that. Flaking, whatever. You get these like very different directional things. Like I would love this if it was going the other way. I'm trying to think if there's a way to get this to actually match. Dig and poke at this a bit and see if that, if like messing up the directional flow a bit, adding a little bit of visual turbulence could help kind of marry these two pieces. Shearing, yes? I think that's the word I was looking for. It's basically when you have a piece of rock and the freeze-thaw cycle makes the crack big enough that it like, a piece falls away like that. Shearing sounds right. I've watched like 10 different geology course lectures, and they all get, the terms still jumble up in my head. It's just, you know, because I'm not taking tests or anything, I'm just watching them on like the great courses or YouTube or whatever. I think that, okay, this is actually what's throwing me off, is the fact that there's such a directional lip right here, and then it just goes into a directional lip going that way. So I'm guessing if I continue this and turn it from, well, because it is a primary form, I would consider it, continue it along this section. I think we've got a lot. Something. I'm really good at starting sentences today. You gotta say, A+ on starting sentences. There's gonna be a test at the end of the stream. Spalling might be the word, as far as different, like I was calling it clastic, but I think clastic literally just means rocks that are formed from cooled magma. Is that what I'm thinking? Someone look up clastic for me real quick. Now I'm second guessing everything I think I know.
In Japan we have the phrase shoshi, which means beginner's mind. If your mind is empty, it's always ready for anything. It's open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few.
Denoting rocks composed of broken pieces of older rocks. Yes, that is the word I was looking for. I got it right. Yeah, if you look up pictures of clastic rocks, those are the ones that look like a bunch of like mostly formed rocks that have been like mushed together, but they have like different directional crevices and cracks and colors, staining, because they were like their minerals were mostly locked into place, right? All the crystalline structure began to form, but it didn't get all the way there before it was like, or rather, they were completely formed, remelted because they were like, say, on the eroded down, pulled under through subduction. And then down there, they weren't completely melted, only mostly melted, and then scrunched back together. Another echo of this step down. That's what I'm wanting. It's really just a lot of hacking and experimenting until it gets to something that seems right to me. Or like matches some of the million reference images that I've burned into my brain. spalling with an H might be an alternate spelling, but it could also be right. So what is a spall and what is spalling? Definitely sounds familiar, but I can't think of a picture of it in my brain. Parts. Is that an erosional process? If it is, I would assume it would be mechanical weathering as opposed to chemical or, wait, what are the other ones? There's mechanical, chemical, and is it biological? Like caused by plants, roots, animals, that sort of thing. Spall is a splinter of stone. So like, I don't know if it means like splinter as in like hanging out from a thing, or does it need to be broken off to be a spall? Pindrake, are you having a trouble hearing my voice, like over the music and the sound of me working, or are you just having trouble hearing the stream in general? Process of flakes of stone breaking off, typically from a sharp corner, like when corners of foundation snap into shards. Okay, interesting. Sound is good to you, Carrie? Okay. Too much ambient noise. Oh, in your location. Okay.
Never mind what happened yesterday. Or your problems, because that's all gone. Tonight doesn't count for us. So for right now, I'm just gonna let this.
So it sounds like spalling is the rock that you get from some process, and that process could be the process of fill in the blank, a freeze-thaw cycle, which causes, and I keep wanting to say flaking, but now that doesn't seem right now. I mean, it essentially is like flakes of rock flaking off, which is probably why I want to call it that. Geologists have lots of their own words, man. One handy thing they do have is a general consensus on the definitional difference between like sand, pebble, rock, boulder, and I want to say there's something above boulder. But no, boulder might be the biggest. Like I solved my problem of this thing being so different by mostly just hacking away at it until it got to a point where I'm happy with it. Harvest all that delicious hair. Foam hair. Boy in the Mud. Hey, welcome. Thank you for the raid. This is what we're working on right now. It is a 6-foot long section of what will eventually be a rock wall. Currently doing lots of carving in foam. My normal kind of work you can see above me there, but I've been getting more and more into terrain stuff and just figuring out the medium, and excited by all the new possibilities and learnings that come along with it. One of the issues I'm kind of running into is that I've got two different sort of flow styles going on here. When I look at my reference, for the most part, it's either angular or it's organic and flowy. And I've kind of got, like, this kind of element has this flowy organic, it feels like it was eroded by wind and sand or water or something. And then these other more faceted elements look like they're more the process of shearing and flaking, creating spalls, we have learned today. So I could probably bring some of my more flowy organic shape language more into coherent dialogue with my angular stuff, just by kind of shearing, flattening areas. Even some sanding. Like, I don't want to lose all the variation, but I do want it to seem coherent. Always a tricky balance to strike. Well, Quindy, you know, you get a style that works for you and you work it. So now I'm wondering if it's worth like going in and adding like smaller protrusions, since I'm enjoying working with these protrusions. You know, why not? Let's get extra protrusion-y. This is having a major malfunction. Is it hitting? Oh, I guess it was actually hitting the table. I have not decided yet how the top ledge, because it's going to be a top ledge that goes up to here, and they're going to have to meet and reconcile somehow. For now, I am thinking probably just keeping it as flat as possible, and then the other one can kind of overhang. Kind of simulate that like so. And then I can carve it down to match in a way that seems coherent, hopefully. everybody loves a good protrusion? I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just oriented such that I prefer like a nice, it's not inclusion. What is it? Oh, alcove. I like alcoves more than protrusions. You can hide things in alcoves, you know? I like that. As a level designer, I do a lot of hiding things in alcoves. Although protrusions are great for having some like epic point of interests. Made a lot of those in Guild Wars, and Guild Wars 2 especially. Look at that. We are about at time, so let's start queuing up for a raid. And I'll spew my socials. Please check out, let's see that, no, that direction. Please check out my socials. I'm on the Instagram and the Facebook and the Twitter and the Patreon and the YouTube. I have a YouTube channel where I teach a lot of this kind of stuff. Please check it out under Josh Foreman. I write books with my co-author. I do a lot of visual development, fantasy adventure books. This guy is one of our stars of the current batch of books that are out right now. And yeah, I think those are all my calls to action. Thanks for joining me. I'd like to say that next week you're going to see significant progress on this, but I've learned not to make those promises anymore. If nothing else, hopefully it's at least enlightening seeing the entire process start to finish. I like really deep, hardcore crevices like this. So yeah, thanks everyone. See you next time. Play us out, Quindy.